And hello, everybody. This is Napa Fan here, aka Alexander Graham, and we are here for race number 14 in the RTG Talladega Challenge. And tonight it is a huge race because we have ourselves a cutoff, and we're leading right into the championship event, which will be next week right here on the Flatout Racing Network. 8 drivers in the chase. One of them has already advanced on to the championship. 4, that is Joe DeSpirito in the number 24, but the other 7 guys, none of them are safe coming into this race, and they're going to go all out to make sure they're one of those top 3 guys in the points at the end of the day. And if any of them win, they will have a spot in the championship for them. Joined alongside Dante Risi, who finished 3rd last week in the Talladega Challenge, and you race with these guys, and you've raced with them all season long, so you know how aggressive they can be sometimes. But how aggressive are they going to be for this race? This is do or die for these 7 chase drivers who have not locked a spot in that championship for them. How wild do you think it's going to be here today at Talladega?
Well, it's going to be pretty wild, Alex. Absolutely, because there's a lot of pressure on these drivers to finish as high in the order as they can and also beat competitors that are close to that cut line, the 5th and 6th positions in the points. So this is going to be very, very challenging for the drivers tonight. And with a lot of pressure, you have some desperate moves on the racetrack. And, hopefully a clean race is in store for us. But I'm not so sure that's going to happen today. We have a lot of things on the line, a lot of pressure for sure on these drivers.
Absolutely, and this is how they line up in the points coming into this race. Of course, Joe DeSpirito won last week, so he's locked in. He doesn't have anything to worry about here. Grant Wesley is currently only 5 points ahead of the cutoff. Josh Metallic is 2 points ahead of the cutoff, and Mark Paglia is 1 point ahead of the cutoff. Then Richard Martin 1 point behind the cutoff. Tim Novsker and Bob Seminara, they are both 7 points behind the cutoff, and then Terry Bombard 15 points behind the cutoff coming into this event. However, if any of those 7 drivers win here tonight, they will automatically lock on to the championship for next week, and in that championship 4 race next week, the highest finisher of those 4 drivers will win the Talladega Challenge Championship. Starting on the pole, it's Jessica Shelton in number 94. Alongside her, Chuck McClure is back in the series. Great to see him back in the number 17. J.R. Deal and Corey Deal in row number 2. Then it's Jeff Crivello and the number 143 of Bob Dixon, David Lawson, and Donnie Garrett alongside each other in row number 4. Then it's Dave Little and Jack Dussault rounding out the top 10 starting positions. The 8 chase drivers, DNQ, they start at the back of the field, and we'll have a fun time watching them work their way through the field here tonight at Talladega. Here we go. Jessica Shelton and Chuck McClure on the front row. It's the 14th race of the season. The penultimate race of the season will set the championship 4 in 66 laps here at Talladega.
Right now, that inside line is really going on this restart. Trouble up on the top there. The 36 of Jack Dussault having a little bit of difficulty getting up to the gear. And now Dave Melson, the 13, makes his move to the outside. And the outside line will get a few numbers here on the first lap.
Outside lane has tended to be the stronger line at the beginning of these races. Chuck McClure there with Corey Deal getting a good run on the outside lane, but Jessica Shelton has J.R. Deal behind her, and they're going to have a pretty much even run there off of turn number 4 coming to the start-finish line for lap number 1. Jessica Shelton there on the inside, and Chuck McClure on the outside. It looks like McClure will lead lap number 1 here in the 14th race of the season.
Yeah, a driver that I really like here for tonight is the 83 of Dave Little. He has had a few good runs and finishes here in this series. Had a tough race last week, an early race accident putting him out, but he's there, it looks like, about the 9th or 10th position on the inside line, just trying to get into the groove of things and hopefully get a good finish for tonight.
Definitely having a good run so far. Of course, all these guys relatively in the same positions they started in. Obviously, you mentioned Jack Dussault, who did not get a good start on the gears initially, but he is back up to speed running in the 13th position. We'll check back through the field here and take a peek at our chase drivers in the field. Terry Bombard, currently the highest chase driver, currently 19th. Tim Novsker right behind him there in the 088. Then we got the number 712 of Bomb Seminara right behind those guys. Mark Paglia, Joe DeSpirito, Richard Martin, and Grant Wesley all in the group here. And Wade Prim, that was actually lost the draft already, or close to losing the draft in the 00 at the back of the field. So all these guys still relatively in the back here, but it is a slightly smaller field than a couple of the other races we've had this season. We'll have to see if that plays an effect on how well these chase drivers do. But Terry Bombard currently in a very good position right now, as he is the highest chase driver in the field at the moment. Of course, if any of these chase drivers win, with the exception of Joe DeSpirito, because he already has one, they'll be locked on to the championship 4. And technically, if DeSpirito does win, he's already locked in anyway with that race victory. We got some 3 wide action going on in the middle. It's still side by side up front between Chuck McClure and Jessica Shelton. Johnny Garrett moving up there. Third line beginning to form at the moment here at Talladega. Wiley Coate in the 6 there, and Chris Elliott in the 9, all working the outside lane.
Oh, trouble.
On around, number 13, Jack Dussault is going to fly through the air a little bit right there, and the 043 also got caught up as well. Brian Lovell, and a 3-car incident down the backstretch early on here at Talladega, lap 4 of 66. Dave Melson also got caught up, and it looks like Dussault has a ton of damage in the 36 machine. Race back to the line. Jessica Shelton and Chuck McClure still side by side here for the race lead. And it's really tight up front, but it will be Shelton winning the race back to the line here on lap number 4.
Yeah, unfortunately, it seems like those drivers spun down to the inside of the racetrack, and we are still under the green flag conditions. So, an incident that might impact a few of these people early.
Jack Dussault like to get slow there in the 36, and you did mention it there. We are still green here at Talladega, and that third line on the outside lane working very well. And the reason why the caution did not come out, they all stayed below the racing surface in that accident, and they have the automatic cautions coming on here for these races. So the game determines when a caution is necessary, and the game did not determine that a caution was necessary in that instance. So we remain green here on lap number 5. Apologies about jumping the gun there about the caution. Jessica Shelton on the inside lane going to continue to lead, but the third line really forming up well here with Donnie Garrett in the 77, who was part of the chase in the first round, missed the first race of the chase, and unfortunately did not have enough points to make it on to this round of the chase. He's looking to get a race victory here as he's got Wiley Coate right behind him there in that outside lane, but this is helping out Jessica Shelton. He got a huge push there from J.R. Deal, and she's got a bit of a gap on the field right here, which may bring in McClure and Garrett in a 3-wide battle for the race lead.
This is what we like to see. 3 wide, sometimes 4 wide, heads-up racing with all 3 lanes pretty much equal and a good chance for anyone to get up to the front of the pack.
And Chuck McClure has a huge one in the outside lane right here. This is some tight racing, especially considering how early on we are in this race. One of the guys who's in the middle of all this is chase driver Grant Wesley. And a little aggressive here early on, but he wants to make sure he makes it into that championship 4, and he's right in the middle of all this madness right now in the number 88. You
can see that 60 car, Perry Bond, on the outside line, kind of pulling to the bottom.
And around, number 9, Chris Elliott, and we got a huge wreck down the backstretch.
Upside
Grant
down.
Wesley is caught up. Tim Knopfler getting spun around as well. And from our point of view, that looks like it was a major warping issue, because all of the sudden, the 9 of Chris Elliott was popped up on the screen, flipped over in the number 9 machine, and now we will officially get our first caution of the race here at Talladega. Jessica Shelton and Chuck McClure race back to the line, and will be Shelton at the line officially. A very goofy race to begin here at Talladega. Already a couple of incidents, and a very strange one right there with Chris Elliott in the number 9.
Yeah, one of our chase drivers, Grant Wesley, was involved in that accident. It'll be important to see how much damage he received. They come off turn 2 very tight, and if one driver doesn't hold their line properly, you could run into issues. In the case here, obviously, it was the 9-car warping, but the last couple of laps, some drivers really didn't look all that comfortable in the lead pack in positions that they were in, and unfortunately, we've had a couple of incidents to start this race.
Unfortunately, been a bit of a wilder start than a lot of the races we've had up so far in this chase. Grant Wesley there in the number 8 machine, 88 machine, I should say, right in the middle of that when it occurred. It was the 9 of Chris Elliott who went around initially, and all of a sudden we saw him pop onto the screen, flipping through the air, and very possible that could have been a warping issue on Chris Elliott's machine. We'll see if any of these guys come down the pit lane. Remember, 19 to 21 lap fuel run here at Talladega, so probably a good time for these guys to come down and service their race cars. Jessica Shelton will lead them down the pit lane. And once the cycle is done, we will review the accident that brought out the first caution of the night here in race 14 of the Talladega Challenge.
And it looks like our lucky dog will be the number 043 car of Brian Lavelle, who made a pit stop just prior to the caution flag coming out.
So he's going to get back on the lead lap rather quickly after that accident that occurred that did not bring out a caution. And we'll do our best to review that as well. But first, we got pit stops here under the caution flag. Lap number 8 of 66. Jessica Shelton and Chuck McClure, first two guys down the pit lane. They came in 1-2. Looks like 143 of Bob Dixon may have missed his pit stall possibly. Shelton will win the race off the pit lane. A couple guys stay out, including Terry Bombard, who is going to lead a lap right there and gain a bonus point towards the championship for doing so. And he's the last guy in the chase right now, so he can use every point that he can get coming into this race. But imagine he, along with Wayne Pribnow, Jeffrey Elliott, and Cy Jones, along with Brian Lovell, actually Brian Lovell, gets the free pass, so I imagine those top 4 guys will come this next time around. Bob Dixon, I'm not entirely sure if he missed his pit stall or not.
I think he did miss it,
I'm
but
pretty sure he did. So if that's the case, Jessica Shelton wins the race off the pit lane. Let's go ahead and see what happened to bring out the first caution. It was Chris Elliott in the number 9, flying through the air. We'll have to see what initiated the contact to bring out this caution.
Yeah, I noticed on the outside line, the 60 car Perry Bond had made a move a little bit lower away from the wall. He's right behind the 9 car of Elliott when Elliott disappears in the turn 1 entry.
He does.
And reappears, it looks to be, in the middle of the back straightaway with nowhere for the number 60 of Bond to go. And
yeah,
he's just,
you'll see this right here.
from there, you know?
And on the replay, there's a gap there between the 6 and the 60 machine. That is where Chris Elliott is. He disappeared entering turn number 1 and did not reappear. And you will see it here momentarily until right about there. And he was already flying through the air at that point. Perry Bond, nowhere to go. Grant Wesley there on the inside.
It doesn't
I've seen issues like that before and in our online races, but that one was unique, and I'm genuinely surprised that it took that long before an accident ensued. But Dave Little there in the 083,
similar incident happened early.
He could use a good run.
Similar incident happened earlier in the season with another driver, and you hate to see it happen this early, but we've got at least 2 or 3 cars with extensive damage now. It doesn't look like
especially.
It doesn't look like that Grant got a whole lot of damage. They should be able to repair it and get him back into contention.
And the same can be said for Paglia in the 28 and Nofsker in the 088. So I do not believe any of our chase drivers were heavily involved in that accident. We'll replay this in real time, and obviously we saw it happen in real time, and definitely surprised us, but a very wild incident here at Talladega down the backstretch to bring out our first caution. And right there, all of a sudden the 9 is upside down right in front of the 60 machine, and you see everyone else who gets caught up. Grant Wesley, Dave Little, and then back in there, Nofsker, Richard Martin, and Paglia had a little bit of contact, but none of the chase drivers will have extensive damage from this accident. We'll also go ahead and see what happened to David Lawson, or should I say Dave Melson, excuse me, in the number 13 a few laps prior, and he was caught up with Jack Dussault and Brian Lovell on lap number 4, I do believe. And we'll replay this one in real time. It was lap number 4, and a little bit of contact right there. Jack Dussault, of course, we mentioned how he did not get the best of starts and did jam up the field a little bit initially. He had damage from the accident, and so did Brian Lovell, but Brian Lovell will get the free pass on this restart. So, very interesting start to this race.
Yeah,
A lot of crazy things happening within the first 10 laps, and a lot of things happening with non chasers as well. I mean, Grant Wesley, granted, was involved in that accident, but he was just simply an innocent bystander in that situation.
yeah.
A
There's a
lot of
lot
these
of
non
collision
chasers
risk.
driving very aggressively here tonight at Talladega.
A lot of collision risk to drive in the middle of the pack. And as a driver, there are times I get into a situation and I'm not fully comfortable with. And you simply can't control the actions of other drivers. And one little mistake can be very crucial in deciding who wins or loses this race. And any bit of damage will slow you down a mile an hour or two at a minimum, and if not more. So right now, considering that we've had two incidents, the intensity level is right where I thought it would be. Very competitive, very high level of competition. A lot of drivers are going to be more desperate later on in the race too. So hopefully they've received the message that at this point in time we had an incident. We just need to kind of regroup, take it easy for a few laps, and get to that next green flag pit stop. Because as a driver, I know that I can win this race on pit road just as well as I can win it on the racetrack. So hopefully we can get into that pattern here with this restart.
Yep, hopefully we can. And of course, that one accident that we had was simply because of a warping issue. So, truly only one accident because of contact here at Talladega, and that did not bring out a caution. That was the Dave Melson, Jack Dussault, and Brian Lovell incident down the backstretch on lap number 4. Ready to restart here at Talladega. Jessica Shelton, J.R. Deal, Corey Deal, and Jeff Cravello make up row number 2. Then it's Donnie Guerin, Wiley Cote, Hank Middleton in the 2, and Bernie Mobbs in the 90. Bob Seminara, currently the highest chase driver in the field. He's all the way up to ninth in the 712 machine. He's alongside Glenn Harris, Joe DeSpirito, last week's winner, to the inside of Andre Mangian in the number 27. Mark Paglia, Dave Melson, Richard Martin, John Godfrey, Grant Wesley, Dave Little, Tim Knopsker, Perry Bond, Terry Bombard, Cy Jones, David Lawson, Bob Dixon, Chuck McClure, Jeffrey Elliott, Wayne Pribnow, and the number 056. Or actually, we did already mention Jeffrey Elliott there. And then at the end of the field, it is Brian Lovell in the 043. Thought I forgot someone, and I did not. That's the full field as we restart here on lap number 12 of 66 here in the 14th race of Talladega Challenge.
The top 12 or so got a good restart there, but back to the 28 of Mark Paglia, there's a large gap ahead of him. Some damaged race cars are now beginning to move towards the back of the pack as drivers behind them pass to the bottom.
Yeah, and I think Dave Melson may have been the culprit in that situation. Obviously, he was involved in that first accident, and he might have a bit of a buckle on the hood, and that might be slowing him down just a little bit. It does appear that Grant Wesley, Tim Nosker, a couple of the guys who were slightly caught up in the accident that brought out the caution, it does appear that they are running up to speed, and all these chase drivers looking to run up front. So, good run for all those guys. And if I'm not mistaken, it's Josh Metallic running tonight in the number 39.
No, Josh has been on vacation, and
Oh.
give us a shout out here to Mr. Josh. He might be watching us. So, Josh, good to see you tonight.
Yeah, I just realized that right now that the number 39 wasn't in the field. So we definitely miss you, Josh, but hopefully you're having a great vacation. And I do believe that unfortunately means he won't advance on to the championship 4. But it still doesn't mean that these guys are going to back down and race it easy, because there are still going to be a lot of guys who get knocked out from championship contention at the end of the night, and it's a limited amount of spots to make it into that championship 4. Bob Seminara looking to advance his way on. He comes in 7 points behind the cutoff, and currently is the highest chase driver in the field. But to the race lead, it's shuffling quite a bit up front. Corey Deal, Donnie Garrett, and J.R. Deal all got a great run on the outside. Hank Middleton's on the inside lane right now in the number 2 machine, and Jessica Shelton, she has Bob Seminara and Joe DeSpirito behind her. A couple of chase drivers already inside the top 10 here at Talladega.
The previous lap, the outside line really surged down the back straightaway. Now that the inside line, they're led by Hank Middleton, has begun to reform, and Donnie Garrett makes a move to the bottom. You really see how the inside line kind of recharged for a whole lap now, and Donnie Garrett is going to battle the number 944 for the race lead.
And Donnie Garrett looking really strong here tonight in the number 77 machine. Hank Middleton right behind him. And Jessica Shelton, who has been the dominant driver in this race so far, she's been doing a great job holding on inside the top 5. Of course, you were working with her quite a bit last week in the 13th race of the season, and I know you finished in the 3rd position, and she's come close to a couple of wins this season. I have to see if she has an opportunity of possibly getting one here tonight and spoiling the party for the chase drivers here at Talladega.
Absolutely. Jessica is very, very good on the super speedway racetracks. She has more experience in super speedway races than myself, believe it or not. And it really, it pays off for her. She's really good in the top 10, the top 5, competing for the win every race she's in. And it would be really nice to see Jessica get that number 94 Flatout Racing Network car to victory lane.
Tim Knopsker, he wants to be in victory lane. He's got a huge run on the outside lane right now, and he's got Chuck McClure behind him, pushing on the outside. Dave Nelson also up there as well, and even though he does have a little bit of damage in this draft,
Big checkup on the inside line
with the rest of the field.
Big checkup on the inside line. I saw that number 18 of David Lawson make a move up to the top to get behind Grant Wesley. Sometimes when you're about the 15th or 20th position in line, the cars start to move around you, and it's actually safer to get out of the spot you're in. And that might have been a good example of that as we look at the back of the pack as well.
And this third line is really starting to form its way up on the outside, and Tim Knopsker trying to lead a charge to the race lead, and Knopsker is one of those guys who came into this race below the cutoff, 7 points to be exact, but if he gets the race victory here tonight, he's on to the championship 4, and that goes for Bob Seminara, that goes for Grant Wesley, that goes for all these guys. Of course, Joe DeSpirito already has that 1 spot in. There are 3 more spots to be given and for that championship for him. But there are 6 guys competing for it here tonight at Talladega. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see who gets it done. But Knopsker really trying to work that outside lane on the deals. 944 and the 09 of Corey and JR Deal. And then Donnie Garrett and Hank Middleton working the inside lane. And they also have some chase drivers down there. It's going to be interesting to see who gets the advantage, but that inside lane working very strong. Donnie Garrett clearing to the race lead for the time being.
Right now, that inside line has more numbers, but this racetrack seems to be dominated by that outside line, that third lane led by Tim Knopsker in the 088 car. If you can get a few people that are really good at drafting and pushing to get up in that line, we've seen it time after time again, that can bring people from the 25th or 20th position up to the lead within a lap or 2. It is that good. And right now, I just think that, with the cars that are up there, there's a chance that some of them may have damage, or maybe they're not the best drafting or pushers at that point in time. But as conditions change, when this race advances to the second half, after halfway, we're going to see a lot more drivers get up to that outside line and make their way to the front.
He definitely will. Outside lane is starting to lose a little bit of steam at the moment. Knopsker and those guys lost some help in the back, and they have fallen to outside the top 10. And even the middle line losing a little bit of ground to the inside, but they are still formed up. Jessica Shelton moved her way to the outside a moment ago, and now she's trying to get some help there from Corey Deal in the 944 and JR Deal behind him to get to Donnie Garrett. But Garrett's holding very strong on that inside lane with Hank Middleton behind him. And Bob Seminara, and this is a huge opportunity for Seminara, won 2 weeks ago to advance his way into the round of 8. Will he win again and advance his way into the championship 4? He's got last week's winner behind him. I would imagine that Joe DeSpirito is a good guy to have behind you in a race like this, because DeSpirito isn't a guy who's going to really force a race victory out of you. Obviously, I would imagine he's going to be going for that race victory, but he doesn't need it as much as a lot of these other chase drivers. And if there's any chase driver you would want to have behind you here tonight, Joe DeSpirito might be that guy, because he's fast. He won last week, but he doesn't need the win. So he might be a little bit more inclined to help you. We'll just have to see how it all goes down. That inside lane really starting to pick up steam as the outside lane.
Trouble
we got
in
a
the
wreck
back.
in the back. Cy Jones around in the 7. And someone else, that is
Andre
the 27.
Monroe. Wow, he's in the wall. Oh.
And a hard hit to the outside, and then Cy Jones going to come back in on Andre Mangian there in the 27 Napa machine. And it looks like it was just those 2 drivers involved in the incident. And these drivers slowing down, but they are going to race back to the line. It looks like Donnie Garrett is going to win it back, as Middleton and a bunch of the drivers in the field are going to slow down and respectively give that race back to the line to Donnie Garrett in the 77. So relatively minor incident in the back, but our second caution of the night here at Talladega. Not even a third of the way through this one quite yet here in the 14th race of the season. Donnie Garrett wins the race back to the line. Hank Middleton, Bob Seminara up to third. Joe DeSpirito in the number 24, and Bernie Mobbs rounds out the top 5 with Corey Deal and J.R. Deal 6th and 7th. Mark Paglia in the 8th position. And Paglia has been a bit of a dark horse during this whole chase. We really haven't seen him contend for wins during the chase so far, but he's been able to have a lot of good runs, made his way into the round of 8, and he came into this race 1 point ahead of the cutoff. And with the way things are currently running, I would imagine that he would still be inside that top 4 in points. Of course, still a long ways left to go in this race, but things are looking fairly well for Mark Paglia so far here in this one. Let's see if these guys come down the pit lane here. Lap 21 of 66 from Talladega. It's Donnie Garrett, Hank Middleton, Bob Seminara, Joe DeSpirito, and Bernie Mobbs, the top 5. Have to see who gets the advantage off the pit lane here for a second round of pit stops here tonight.
Yeah, so being on lap 21 now, pretty much you'll be coming into the pit road and getting the tank full of fuel. And most of the time I usually take 2 tires, considering that it depends on how long the run was prior, but I'll take 2 tires and pack it with fuel. Some drivers will do fuel only as well. So
tire wear doesn't come into effect that much here. Obviously, we run in a pack here at Talladega, so it's not the most critical thing, but it is good to change tires just to make sure they don't go out. Looks like Tim Knopfsker is going to pull a little strategy right here, and he's going to lead a lap in this one and get a bonus point towards the championship for doing so. And those points are really going to come into play once we get later on in this race. We'll check in at the end of pit lane. First driver who came down the pit lane was Donnie Garrett in the number 77. We'll have to see if he wins the race off the pit lane, or will it be somebody else? It will be Donnie Garrett who wins the race off. Then Bob Seminara will be second. Joe DeSpirito, Hank Middleton, and Corey Deal, the top 5 off the pit lane. Let's go ahead and quickly see what happened between Cy Jones and Andre Maggian in the 27. And an unfortunate incident between these guys in the back of the field.
well, it was a 3-wide situation, and it looks like the car in the middle came down into the bottom line just a tiny bit. And it's at a part of the racetrack where you have Cyber Jones on the bottom, and the bottom line goes from the very bottom in the trioval up about a lane. And it looks like the car in the middle came down at just the wrong time.
It does, unfortunately. And it almost looks like Mangian may have just lost the steering. It seemed to just veer right to the left, and Cy Jones, unfortunately, was a victim in that one. Bob Dixon was also in the middle of that one, but he did not gain any significant damage from it. But Mangian hit the outside wall pretty hard, and Cy Jones then comes in and runs right into him. Take a look at that one once again in the real-time view. Thankfully, a relatively minor incident here at Talladega to bring out the second caution of the night. And you see right there, 27 just seems to veer right down to the left, and Cy Jones went for a ride there in the number 7. I don't know if Cy Jones is going to have enough damage where he's going to be affected. He did take a shot there on Mangian at the end of the wreck. But
Yeah.
other than that, I do believe he will be able to continue. So hopefully that'll be the case for Cy Jones in the number 7. Race leader, once everything cycles through, will be Donnie Garrett in the number 77. And Jeffrey Elliott will stay out and lead a lap in the 0:56, as we are now a third of the way here through race 14 of the season in the Talladega Challenge. What are you seeing so far on this one, especially with the chase drivers? We got Bob Seminara leading the field here, and you told me before we went on the air that you thought Bob Seminara was going to have a good night, and well, so far he is having a great night, and the way things are currently running, I would believe that he would point his way into the championship 4, but obviously you know he's going to be going for the race victory to ensure his spot in. So looks like you knew something about Bob Seminara here tonight at Talladega.
Oh, yeah. Bob is an amazing driver. And something that I saw prior to the caution coming out is that inside line that Bob was in was just about to get clear of the middle or top. And I would have expected to see, once the number 90 of Bernie Mobbs had been clear of the bottom, that those 3 drivers, The 712 of Bob Seminara, the 24 of Joe DeSpirito, and the number 90 of Bernie Mobs are going to make a move up to the middle lane at that point in time, and then we would have seen a race dominated by the middle line. So they were, in my opinion, getting ready to make that move, and Bob was going to be able to compete with Donnie Garrett for the race lead very shortly there. So it was an exciting turn of events, but that caution flag is now going to change the dynamic of the race a little bit.
It does appear that it will, but Bob Seminara still up there up front, and imagining that Jeffrey Elliott's going to be coming down this time by. Everybody else has made their pit stop under this yellow flag. That would put Bob Seminara on the front row for this restart. So that will definitely be interesting to see a chase driver on the front row here and see how he does. But Seminara in a good position. We saw what DeSpirito did last week. Pretty much once DeSpirito got to the lead last week, he stayed there and went on to take the race victory. Thinking Seminara might be feeling the same way here tonight, and be restarting around alongside Donnie Garrett there. But Donnie Garrett, he's hungry for a race victory in the number 77 machine. It's going to be interesting to see what he can do in that machine. Perry Bond will get the free pass in the number 60. Obviously, he was heavily involved in that first accident that brought out a caution here in this one. And he will get his lap back there. It'll be Donnie Garrett, the race leader, Bob Seminara in the 712, Joe DeSpirito, Hank Middleton, Corey Deal, Jessica Shelton, Bernie Mobs, Wiley Coate, Mark Paglia, Jeff Cravello, Richard Martin, and Terry Bombard, along with Grant Wesley. 3 chase drivers still in the middle of the pack for this one here. Of course, Tim Nosker is going to be at the back because he came down the pit lane a lap later than everybody else. Dave Melson, J.R. Deal, Glenn Harris, Brian Lovell, John Godfrey, Bob Dixon, Cy Jones, the top 20. There is Knopsker in the 088 coming off the pit lane and topping off for fuel. Same with Chuck McClure, David Lawson, and then we saw Jeffrey Elliott come down the pit lane right there. Wayne Pribnow is currently down the pit lane, and Perry Bond going to get back on the lead lap out of the race so far. The number 12, actually, I do believe those numbers are incorrect.
I have the number 27 of Andre Mongion retired. The number 083, Dave Little, is out of the race. In 29th place, the number 9 of Chris Elliott out of the race. And in 30th, the number 36 of Jack Dussault. All
Thank you
in the
very
garage
much.
area.
Reading the identification numbers for the ticker that you see on your screen. They don't line up with the numbers that the drivers are driving out on the racetrack. I'm still getting used to everything. But huge thanks to all the guys at FRN for letting me call this race. And great to call this one with the guy who's been in this series throughout the season, Dante Risi. Definitely getting a fresh new perspective on how everything rolls out here. And it's going to be a fun one here coming to 22, or should I say 32, 42 laps to go. I do the math in my head, and sometimes I'm not good at doing it real quickly. Donnie Garrett, Bob Seminara on the front row, Joe DeSpirito, Hank Middleton, Corey Deal, and Jessica Shelton. Going to get back to racing here on lap 25 of 66 here from Talladega.
Car to watch here is going to be that number 088 of Tim Nosker as he charges up from the 20th position on this restart.
This will definitely be interesting. Of course, Nosker won the first race of the chase 3 weeks ago. We'll have to see if he can get another one here tonight and shoot his way inside the championship for next week. But Donnie Garrett wants a race victory, even though he's not a chase driver anymore. He still wants another dub here in the Talladega Challenge. Back to racing here, lap 25 of 66 at Talladega. Bob Seminara getting a decent run there in that outside lane. He's got Hank Middleton right there behind him, but Donnie Garrett with the best run on the inside with help from Joe DeSpirito in the 24. Ooh, and they're bumping around a little bit right there. Hank Middleton, Jessica Shelton, and outside lane starting to get a run down the backstretch. Bob Seminara trying to roll the outside on Donnie Garrett, but Garrett will hold the inside lane and be able to clear the outside for the time being, and Donnie Garrett looks like he will lead lap number 25 here at Talladega.
The outside line does have some pretty good drafting ability right now. If you have the right people up there, you've got the 2 of Hank Middleton, the 94 of Jessica Shelton, and the 6 of Wiley Coate now in the 10th position. So this is really getting interesting.
In the back of the field, excuse me, right there. Tim Nosker just tapped the outside wall. Pretty big deal right there. He doesn't have any significant damage from him, but he's trying to work that outside line once again with Chuck McClure.
Yeah, I would believe that they're in a spot that they really don't want to be in, and it would be a good idea to try and get that outside line going and bring a few more people up to the way top. That will help them get up to the front. But again, you just need to have some numbers. You need to have some people go with them. As you see, the 7-Eleven of John Godfrey is right now trying to make a decision as to whether he wants to go up to the top line or not. And I'm sure when I'm in that position, if I see two cars in front of me go to the top, I will consider going up with them to help them get to the front. So, that's a good place to start with getting the people to go forward. And the number 13 of Dave Melson has moved up to the top.
Exactly. And we got these guys working this outside lane very well here. Starting to get a lot of momentum. Wiley Cody there in the 6 also.
Oh, the
Oh, and
'08
Oscar's going to
car.
go around in the A.
Oh,
088, and Glenn Harris also gets caught up as well, and it
Bob
did
Dixon
not
in
work
the
out
inside
for him.
wall.
That outside lane was trying, but did not work out in that situation. Bob Dixon also around in the 143. And Nofsker, I don't believe he gained significant damage from that accident, but that's the second time he's been spun around so far tonight. We're not even halfway through. Donnie Garrett will win the race back to the line as we have our third caution here tonight in the 14th race of the season. Bob Seminara will be second. Hank Middleton, Joe DeSpirito, and Corey Deal, the top five. And it looks like it might have just been a bump gone wrong down the backstretch there with Nofsker and I believe it was Chuck McClure who was behind him there in the 17. It happened very quickly. Caught me off guard there a little bit.
Yeah, the cars get very close together off of turn two, and it really has to do with the banking of the corner being the way it is. The corner is still on part of the flat of the back straightaway, and it gets very flat very fast. And that's what causes cars to drift up the track and down the track off of turn two. And in this case, it was a three wide situation that, you know, took a few people out of contention.
It definitely did. I don't think it's going to take Nofsker out of contention, though. 088 still out there, and I do not see any significant damage to his race car. So he dodged another bullet right there. Only lost a few positions. He was 20th at the time of the incident. Donnie Garrett, the race leader, and this is going to be interesting because we did just come down the pit lane. We'll have to see. I would imagine these guys will probably top off again right here. You definitely want to make sure you have a full tank of fuel anytime you get the opportunity to. And we're not near the end of the race either, so looks like a majority of these guys will be coming down the pit lane. We'll see if anybody stays out and grabs a bonus point towards the championship. We saw Nofsker do that, and we saw Terry Bombard do that under the last two cautions. Donnie Garrett will lead the field down the pit lane. We'll have to see how they come out. And it looks like someone, Glenn Harris, staying out in the 0A machine along with Cy Jones. And I believe Cy Jones will lead this lap and grab a bonus point towards the championship for that. Here's Donnie Garrett in the 77. And it does appear it's going to be a fuel-only stop for the race leader coming off the pit lane right here. And he will win the race off the pit lane once again.
Contact in the pit road. The 13 of Dave Melson has been hit by the 143 of Bob Dixon and has gone into the infield grass. It looks like he doesn't have any significant damage, but indeed has lost a few positions.
Tough break there for Dave Melson in the 13. He's had a tough day as well. A lot of crazy things going on here tonight here at Talladega for our penultimate race of the season. Let's go ahead and see what happens to bring out the third caution. And the 08 of Tim Nofsker is still out there, but this one definitely a very interesting situation for him. You're going to see here. We'll show you this in the slow motion replay first to get an idea of what happened. Dave Melson was out there in front of the 088. He peeked out trying to get that outside lane to form up and get to the front. And then, as Dante mentioned, it gets very flat off of turn number two, and it looks like Glenn Harris may have slid up just slightly in the Nofsker, and that sent the 088 around, and then the 08 of Glenn Harris almost gets set upside down. Bob Dixon also gets caught up, and John Godfrey got into the 08 there just a little bit. I think Chuck McClure avoided this one altogether, but looks like Glenn Harris might have just gotten a little loose off the corner.
Difficult situation for the 08 of Glenn Harris. This might also be a tough call for the admins because both cars seem to move within a half car width, the 08 and the 088 of Nosker. The 17 of Chuck McClure had a really good run going, was able to push Tim Nosker up a little bit to get up next to Glenn. But you know, three wide situation in that corner. If one car moves a little bit up, another car moves just a tiny bit down, anything can happen. So it's very tough to place any real blame on that accident, I gotta say.
It does appear just to be a racing incident, and that will happen at a place like this where we have the high speeds, and that transition off the banking can definitely be treacherous for these drivers at times. It's been an up and down day for Novsker, but he's far from being out of this one, no doubt about it. It's going to be interesting to see if he can rebound in any such way. Currently down the pit lane looking to repair damage. Of course, he's going to be at the back of the field on the restart either way, so he might as well top off on fuel here under this caution. Race leader is still Donnie Garrett in the number 77. Alongside him, Jessica Shelton now up to second. Joe DeSpirito in third. Then it's Corey Deal, Hank Middleton, Jeff Crivello, Wiley Cody in the sixth. Bernie Mobbs, Mark Paglia, and Richard Martin, Grant Wesley, Terry Bombard. Four chase drivers all on each other right there. Bob Seminara in the 712 has fallen to the back of the field, I do believe. And he actually came back down the pit lane to top off for fuel. So very interesting situation right there with Seminary. He's now going to be restarting in the back of the field, so he's going to lose all that track position. Going to be very interesting. Joe DeSpirito is back to being the only chase driver inside the top five. That's how it was last week when he won, and that's how it is right now. The number 24 for Joe DeSpirito. Thing is, he's already into the championship four.
Oh my goodness, we have trouble under the caution flag.
Oh, and a spin.
And let's begin by saying that the lucky dog is the number 00 of Wayne Pribino, who was sitting in the pit road. As he was making his way up to the front of the field, he got into the number 60 of Perry Bond. It's an accident of all sorts. We instruct our drivers who are on the racetrack to stay low for the lucky dog car under the caution. And it appears that there's been some contact there as the lucky dog was making his way to the front of the pack. The damage does not look to be too severe. The 17 Chuck McClure was also spun and involved. He has a little bit of right side and right rear damage from that incident as well.
Yeah, very interesting right there as Pribnow was coming through the field in the 00, and he got in the Perry Bond there, and Bond was a little high on the racetrack at the time he was coming through the field, but like you said, it doesn't appear that there's any major damage to
Also,
anyone
right
involved.
now we have a few drivers topping off on fuel. The number 24 of Joe DeSpirito, the 088 of Tim Oscar, the 712 of Bob Seminara topping off on fuel. At this point in the race, 19 or 20 laps of fuel is very close on one more pit stop. So just to make sure you get all of that fuel in there and you get a car that can make it a little bit longer than somebody else, it could give you an advantage come time the end of the race.
And it would make sense that these three guys would be guys who would top off. DeSpirito, he doesn't need the race victory. Might as well try some strategy and see if he can apply that to next week's Championship 4 race. Bob Seminara had already topped off and was already going to restart at the back of the field anyway, and the same goes for Tim Nosker. And like you mentioned, we're going to be restarting lap 32 of 66 with 25 laps to go in this race. 35 laps to go in this race. I can't do math tonight. I apologize, guys. It's not good in an elimination race like this where we got to figure out all the points. I'm not getting it right. We'll have 35 laps to go in this race. And like Dante mentioned, 19 to 20 laps of fuel. Those guys who just topped off should be able to make this race on one more stop. A lot of these other guys, it's going to be a lot closer. I would imagine if we get another caution, that erases that strategy out the window. But we've had long green flag runs so far this year, and it's very possible, even though we've started off this race with 3 yellows, that we could end up with another one, or should I say we could go green flag the rest of the way. I don't think that's going to happen necessarily, but it definitely will be interesting to see how it all plays out with the strategy. That is going to put Mark Paglia in the highest chase position, then Richard Martin, Grant Wesley, and Terry Bombard. They're all on each other right around the 10th position. So that's going to be very interesting to see who gets the advantage out of all that. It will be 35 laps to go. Donnie Garrett and Jessica Sheldon on the front row for the restart.
56 car, Jeff Crivello now up to 5th position for this restart.
You see him right there on that inside lane. Going to be interesting to see what he can do up front here at Talladega. Got Corey Deal right behind Donnie Garrett, Hank Middleton on the outside lane, Wiley Cody in the 6th on the outside in the 3rd row. Very interesting start right there. Jessica Shelton beat Garrett at the line. But Garrett's going to get the push from Corey Deal on that inside lane. That outside lane, though, is better formed up right now as Jeff Gravel did not get going on the restart. And that inside lane is losing a lot of ground.
Further back in the pack, the 043 Brian Lavelle has made a move to the outside. He is on top of the 43 of Richard Martin, who appears to be in about the 12th position at this time.
Mark Paglia just went from the outside lane to the inside lane, looking to gain some momentum on the rest of the field right here, and got a good opportunity of possibly getting this race victory right now. Grant Wesley also going to move to the inside lane. Looks like he's going to stick with Paglia for the time being, and they are currently the two highest chase drivers in the field.
Aggressive moves by the 17th car, Chuck McClure, making it 3 wide deep in the pack to get by cars in the middle. And he has a little bit of help from the 56 of Jeffrey Elliott. And they are now forming the second groove, and that's going to eventually help the 94 Jessica Shelton, I think, within the next 2 laps, have a chance to get up and take the race lead.
Definitely going to be interesting to see if those guys do help that outside lane. They get a good run down the backstretch. It looks like Bernie Mobb just moved his way to the outside lane. That's going to bring Richard Martin on the inside, and all 4 of these chase drivers who are up front, all on this inside lane right now. The other 3 chasers, Bob Seminara, not too far behind, and same with Tim Nosker. They've rejoined this pack, and they're looking to find a way up front. Nosker still trying that 3rd lane on the outside. Got Dave Melson right ahead of him. Glenn Harris there in the 08 is looking on that outside lane. Bob Seminara is in the middle of all that. And then Joe DeSpirito is tagging along behind this pack right now. Hasn't lost the draft, but just seeing where all these lines go for the moment and see where he can go, possibly get his way back up to the front in this one. But back to the front, side by side between Jessica Shelton and Johnny Garrett still. An inside lane formed very well with the chase drivers of Mark Paglia, Grant Wesley, Richard Martin. But that outside lane's got a lot of momentum, and there goes Shelton to the race lead here at Talladega.
Yeah, it was really nice to see Jessica make her way up to the front, and I'm happy that she was able to get into the lead there as I saw that play developing. You know, it was really cool to watch the line strengthened up there on the top side, and now Jessica has been able to take the lead and move to the bottom in front of Donnie. So now we have to keep an eye further back as we have some 3 wide action going on. The number 909 of JR Deal is now leading the top line, in which Chuck McClure is second at the top line, and they're trying to form up and get a good run. Very interesting choice by the 712 of Bob Seminara and the 24 of Joe DeSpirito to kind of hang with the middle at this point in time. The 2 of them are locked together very close now. Looks to be around the 16th, 15th position in the middle line.
A good run for these guys either way. I think considering that they topped off, they've moved up through the field very well since the restart. And I don't necessarily know if being in the middle lane, like you said, is the best place to be. Obviously, we saw what happened earlier on in the race when Grant Wesley was in that position and he got caught up in an accident. Back to the race lead, and the single file line up front right now. That inside lane really has a lot of momentum. Top 5 have cleared the outside lane with Grant Wesley now inside the 5th position. Didn't run as well as what we have seen out of him a lot of these races so far this year last week, but he's back up inside the top 5 here, and anytime Grant Wesley's up front, he's going to have a shot at race victory, and it's going to be interesting to see what he can do as this race goes along. Richard Martin here in the 43 as well in the inside lane. Hank Middleton in the 2 machine. Wiley Cody there trying to work that outside lane, and Bob Seminara and Joe DeSpirito are a couple guys on that outside lane, and now even Tim Nosker has joined that outside lane in the back of the field. That 3rd line fizzed out, and Nosker has fallen to the back of the pack here at Talladega.
One of our chase drivers that we have not mentioned that much, we're going to mention him right now, is the number 10 of Terry Bombard. He right now is on the bottom line behind Richard Martin, and he has been very conservative at this point in the race. I would expect now that we're past halfway, we're going to see him try to get up to the front, and Bumby was our points leader earlier in the season, so he's shown that he's able to get it done and win races. He's a very talented driver, and you know, I expect him to get more aggressive here in the coming laps.
Absolutely. I mean, Bombard's been the guy who has kind of been in the back of the field a lot of these races, but then once we get to the end, he somehow finds his way inside to a top 5 run, and he's had a lot of great runs as of late. I will say, the way things are currently running right now, it would be Joe DeSpirito, Grant Wesley, Mark Paglia, and Richard Martin, the 4 guys in the championship 4. Paglia, Wesley, and Martin are all ahead of the guys who are behind them in points in this race. So Terry Bombard, who came in last of the chase drivers, I believe 15 points behind the cutoff, may need to win this race here tonight to have an opportunity of making it into the championship four. Obviously, Bob Seminara currently outside looking in as well in the 712, and with Josh Metallic failing to start here tonight, he will unfortunately fail to make it on to the championship four. And Tim Novsker, another guy who's had his fair share of issues tonight, came in behind the cutoff, also in the back of the field for this one. We still have a long ways left to go. It's going to be 28 laps to go next time by, and most of these guys, I think it's going to be a one-stop race from here. I think these guys are going to try to save it and make it to the end. We know for a fact, I think, that Bob Seminara, Joe DeSpirito, and Tim Nosker can make it on one stop.
Yes.
Big question is, what about all these other guys who came in a couple laps before them? They came in right on the edge of that fuel run.
I would have to think that some of them can make it, and some of them are going to be very close because when you're in the draft, it all depends on where you are in the line. And if you're out front, you're obviously burning a lot more fuel than the people who are mid to back of the pack. So you look at Jessica Shelton, Grant Wesley, the Deal brothers, both of them, Mark Paglia being up front for all of this time, Donnie Garrett as well. Not having topped off at least once under the caution could put you at a disadvantage here for this last pit stop.
It definitely could.
Trouble,
Oh, and around!
the
Jeff
56
Crivello in the
car,
56, and Richard Martin and Terry Bombard are both heavily
in the
involved in
fence.
this one. And I think Bombard's day is going to be done. Bombard with heavy damage in the number 10 machine. He is destroyed.
The number
And
90,
Jeff Crivello got sent around
down.
somehow. And a huge wreck right across the start-finish line here at Talladega. And as much as I hate to say it, I unfortunately think that's going to end Bombard's chances and making it onto the championship four right there. There's no way he's going to be able to recover from that one. Huge wreck
tough.
On lap 39. Jessica Shelton wins the race back to the line.
The number 90 of Bernie Mobbs also upside down with significant rear end damage after the accident. This is a tough break for Bernie Mobbs and Terry Bombard. And we saw the 56 car, Jeff Crivello, actually got up into the catch fence after he was spun around. This was a wild incident involving at least 10 to 15 cars. And, you hate to see it, but that's our first real big one today.
It definitely is a massive accident, and that's going to be the first chase driver to fall victim to a big one as well. Terry Bombard looks like his chances are going to end right there. Such a tough break to see. I mentioned, how he's kind of a dark horse in a lot of these races where throughout the race you don't really see him up front until the end of the race. Unfortunately, he's not going to get that opportunity here tonight, and sadly, he will not have enough points to make it onto the championship four. That will, however, make it easier for Grant Wesley, Mark Paglia, Richard Martin, Tim Novsker, and Bob Seminara. Now, essentially, there are only 2 spots left that are elimination positions. So it's getting a little bit easier for these guys who are still out there on the racetrack to make it into the championship four. So we'll have to see how it all plays out. An opportunity for these guys to come down the pit lane, but even after this, they will still have to make another stop as we have 27 laps to go coming to 26. It's still going to be another stop in this race, no doubt about it, after this one. Jessica Shelton, she's going to take tires in the 94 machine, and she will win the race off barely ahead of Grant Wesley, who may have gone fuel only there. But Wesley was actually on the outside lane. I was about to make a move for the race lead when this wreck occurred. And then we obviously saw what happened to Jeff Crivello in the 56, and the rest was history, including Terry Bombard in number 10, whose night will unfortunately end prematurely. Take a look here and see what happened to bring out the yellow flag here for the 4th time tonight at Talladega, and it does appear we'll get a good angle of this right here. Jeff Crivello in the 56. It looks like he got a little, it looks like he just spun it around through the tri-oval and then came down. Richard Martin was there in the 43. Now, Martin did not gain significant damage, at least compared to Terry Bombard. But look at the number 10 machine here. Tim Novsker was on the outside of all this and managed to avoid it. You mentioned Crivello in the catch fence, Bernie Mobbs, Terry Bombard, just nowhere to go for those guys, and Bombard getting the worst of this one here at Talladega.
Right at the end of that accident, the number 90 and the number 10 cars got together, and the number 90 car flipped in the air an additional half flip as the number 10 car went upside down as well. It was just, one of those deals where 2 innocent drivers got caught up in a bad situation, and It doesn't take much. If you're riding behind someone and you hit the back bumper of their car, one of two things can happen, especially in the trioval. You do not want to bump in the trioval. You could spin yourself, or like in this case, he spun himself, but you could also end up spinning the car in front of you. So this was just really, it's a slight misjudgment that cost a few people a chance to win the race today. And it looked like there were at least 12 cars involved in that accident. On top of that, the 712 of Bob Seminara did get a little bit of right side damage, but it does not appear to be severe.
Yeah, I think the same can be said for Richard Martin in the 43. And Martin actually did. He did hit the wall a little bit there. I don't think he's going to get knocked out, but Martin may be a little bit slower once we get to the restart. Terry Bombard flying through the air there, and Bernie Mob's also going to be out of the race as well. Those are the two major drivers involved in that one. And Richard Martin, this is going to be interesting because he could be a little bit off the pace once we get back to racing. He did take a lot of hard hits there. I don't see any significant damage on the 43 after that one. But Martin may be in a little bit of trouble right here, and that might be good news for Tim Knopsker. Knopsker actually gained a lot of ground. He passed a ton of guys on the outside lane. He's now inside the top 10, or was inside the top 10 when before the cycle of pit stops occurred. So Knopsker looking pretty good right now in the 08, and he's definitely had a very spirited day. He's had his fair share of issues, and he is still rolling and now currently inside the top 5 here at Talladega. Jessica Shelton, Grant Wesley, Donnie Garrett, Tim Knopsker, Corey Deal, Hank Middleton, Chuck McClure, Wiley Cody, Dave Melson, and Joe DeSpirito, the top 10. Bob Seminara back in 13th. And Seminara right now is still a guy who is currently behind the cutoff the way they are currently running. But with Knopsker inside the top 5, he came in with a 7-point, I should say, yes, a 7-point gap behind the cutoff. And that was in respect to Mark Paglia. Paglia, I believe, in the 28 topped off. He's at the back of the field. So at this moment, the 4 guys who would be eliminated would be Josh Metallic, who failed to start here tonight, Terry Bombard, who was involved in the accident, Mark Paglia, who topped off and is at the back of the field, and Bob Seminara, who's currently running in the 13th position. That is the 4 drivers who would be eliminated at this moment. Of course, we're far from being over in this race, but that is the current situation here at Talladega. Grant Wesley here. I think Wesley may have the best shot at winning this race at this point. Obviously, he's going to be going a little bit harder than the guys on the inside because that win is going to be for the championship for next week, and that'll definitely give Wesley a lot of momentum heading into that championship race. And here he is on the outside lane, and he's going to have Tim Knopsker right behind him on this restart.
I like the way that outside line is forming, especially now you have Hank Middleton in the 2 car and Wiley Cody in the 6, also on the outside for the restart. In 10th position is number 24, Joe DeSpirito. So the outside line is beginning to take shape with some drivers who, at this level of experience, at this point in the race, should be able to make things work. So it's going to be very fun to see who goes to the top and who goes back to the bottom in this situation.
It definitely will be. And I'm looking at this outside lane getting the best advantage here, but I could be wrong. I mean, Jessica Shelton and Donnie Garrett have been 2 of the most dominant guys in this race so far. So, they'll be going strong for the race victory as well. And you got to keep in mind, too, everyone in the field, even Mark Paglia, who did top off there under that caution, they're going to have to make another stop in this race. Now, if we do get another caution, Paglia may try to stretch it. I just don't know if I would take that risk if we get another caution. But if we don't get another caution, everyone will have to be coming down the pit lane again. And that last cycle is going to be right near the end of the race. So it could be very interesting once we get to that point if it stays green until the finish. Jessica Shelton, Grant Wesley on the front row, Donnie Garrett, Tim Knopsker, Corey Deal, Hank Middleton, Chuck McClure, Wiley Cody, Dave Melson, Joe DeSpirito, John Godfrey, Jeffrey Elliott, Bob Seminara, Glenn Harris, J.R. Deal, Bob Dixon, Jeff Cravello, Brian Lovell, Cy Jones in the 7 to the inside of David Lawson, Richard Martin, Mark Paglia, a couple of chase drivers at the back of the field here, and Wade Prim now in the 00. Of course, Martin was involved in that accident. Actually, in this last position right now, this last position making it into the championship 4 could be between Richard Martin and Mark Paglia at the moment. It's definitely going to be interesting to see who gets it done. I don't know if we're free of cautions yet, but either way, we're back to racing here at Talladega with 23 laps to go in the 14th race of the season.
Nice clean restart and takeoff there for the time being. Um, the 94 Jessica Shelton is in the lead, and it appears that the bottom line is going to hold together a little bit. Slight move up the racetrack there, but back down to the bottom in front of Donnie Garrett.
Shelton with a little bit of a defensive move there off the corner, but Wesley and Knopfsker, they're going to be helping each other out. And that outside lane very well at the moment, and Wesley looking very strong here, but Shelton looking very strong as well. These lines are pretty much equal at the moment, and it's going to be a side-by-side battle for the lap led at lap 44. Wesley might have the advantage on this outside lane through the tri-oval here. We'll have to see if he gets the push from Knopfsker. It's going to be close. Lap number 44 will be led by Jessica Shelton by a nose. If it was even a nose at the line. That could be the finish of the race. We've seen a couple close ones so far this season, and we could be in store for another one here tonight.
So, quick discussion on race strategy. I've heard that some of the race leaders are about 4 laps short on fuel, having not topped off. That would mean that they would need at least 1 can of fuel on the final pit stop, assuming the race stayed green. The drivers who topped off were the number 18 of David Lawson, the number 43 of Richard Martin, and the number 28 of Mark Paglia. Those 3 drivers, probably having topped off, would need a half a can of fuel on a final pit stop to make it to the finish. This is very interesting indeed if we can stay green. But considering the pace of this race and having these caution flags, another caution flag would pretty much take the fuel mileage situation out of this race.
It definitely would. But I'm intrigued to see if this does go green. That will be very interesting, and you brought up a very good point. Guys like Richard Martin and Mark Paglia, David Lawson, they won't have to be on the pit lane as long as the rest of the field because they will not need as much fuel to make it to the end. They can also go a little bit further as well, so it's going to be a chess match at the end if it stays green. Inside lane, getting the best advantage right now. Grant Wesley and Tim Knopfsker have actually fallen off just a little bit. Chuck McClure's gotten around him there on the outside lane. And how about Dave Melson? Like Knopfsker, he's had his fair share of issues here tonight. Well, here he is, almost inside the top 5 right now, the number 13 machine.
We got some really tight 3 wide racing way in the back of the pack. The 043 of Brian Lavelle was up top, and it seemed like that the 28 of Mark Paglia was having a real hard time getting by Brian. It seems as if they've been able to clear things up now a little bit, but for a few laps there, it looked very tense in the back, and Grant Wesley has been, whoa, what, a little bit of contact there, it appears, there between the middle and the
he
back.
got shuffled out of line right there in the 88 machine. He's going to fall back on the 3rd line. Knopfsker might move up a position in respect to Wesley, but that outside lane really lost a lot of momentum there, and Wesley doesn't have any help, and he's going to fall to the back of the field, and that's going to be big right there. Here comes Richard Martin and Mark Paglia. They're both going to get around Wesley here. Tough break there for the 88. Still a lot of time left in this race, but it's going to be hard for him to move his way back to the field, especially if the single file stays up. And guess who's now the highest chase driver in the field? After all that, it's now Bob Seminara in the 712, and Seminara came in only 7 points behind the cutoff. I think the way things are currently running, he would, in fact, make it into the championship for on points, the way things are currently running. But we're at Talladega, and the order of the field is going to change quite a bit between now and the end of the race, especially considering if this thing stays green
Outside
and we end up with pit stops at the end of the race. And they are shuffling all over the place up front. There goes Seminara, a huge run to the inside of Corey Deal and Dave Melson. He's going to push Donnie Garrett and Jessica Shelton on the inside lane with Joe DeSpirito behind him.
Wow, that outside line really fell apart there. I was surprised to see the 24 of DeSpirito and Seminara and the 712 go to the bottom that quickly. That outside line could have easily made a run past Donnie Garrett there and Jessica Shelton, and the 944 Corey Deal would have been the leader. But we saw those 2 Chevys get down to the bottom of the racetrack very quickly. And, it just shows that your line has the numbers, you'll go somewhere.
It definitely is the case for those guys. And I think DeSpirito and Seminara are helping each other out in this one. They've been together quite a bit in this one, and Seminara thought that inside lane was the best place to be, and it might be. You know, you never know when a wreck could happen. And being behind Shelton and Donnie Garrett isn't a bad decision. Those are two of the fastest cars on the racetrack, and they're going to definitely be up front near the end of this race, most likely. So Seminara wants to be in that position, and I think at this point wants to hold on to that position. And then once we get down to a point where we have green flag pit stops, wants to be right behind those leaders and possibly have a shot at advancing on them during that green flag cycle. And of course, that's a big if we stay green. It's definitely a wild race so far. We've had 4 cautions so far in this one here tonight. Mark Paglia in the number 28 was one of those guys who topped off under the last caution, along with Richard Martin and the number 18 of David Lawson.
Yep.
They may be at an advantage here once we get those green flag pit stops. Just say if we get those green flag pit stops later on. But a lot of variables going on right now, and Grant Wesley fell back there. That's not good at all for the 88 machine. We'll have to see if he can rebound back up to the front. He's on this outside lane. The outside lane's starting to reform just a little bit here at Talladega.
Yeah, the number 6 car of Wiley Cody had fallen to the back of the pack. Could be connection related, so he is now being scored in around the 21st position. 3 wide action up front.
Yeah, the third line here, Chuck McClure, Tim Knopfsker, Hank Middleton, Grant Wesley, and Mark Paglia. Only 3 cars in that middle lane. I would imagine this outside lane is eventually going to surpass those guys in the middle. JRD a little close right there, Chuck McClure off the corner. They're allowing Jessica Shelton and Danny Garrett to comfortably ride this race out. And now we have 15 laps to go at Talladega. Have to see if any of these guys can work their way back up to the front. Knopfsker and Wesley were a couple of guys who were inside the top 5 for the race start who have fallen back in this one. Wesley moving to the inside lane here. He's going for broke here, trying to get every position he can possibly get working this middle line now. And it looks like Mark Paglia is going with him right now. Wesley going to move down to the inside lane. I'm wondering if a lot of these guys are getting ready for green flag pit stops. We are within the window right here, and I'm wondering if some guys are going to go ahead and take their pit stop right here and get it over with. It's going to be interesting to see if that's the case, because Wesley seems to really be trying to get to that inside lane. They're going to stay out for now, but the window is open. Do you think anyone's going to come down early here?
Well, I have been told that some of the leaders are expecting to pit very soon. So I would say within the next 4 to 5 laps, we could see our green flag pit stop cycle begin. And that's the other part of it, having the 3 drivers with the slight advantage. It could come down to a situation where there might not be an advantage enough to stay out extra laps and just end up coming back into the pack in the same position. So we would have to have more than a few of the race leaders that are up there already try to stay out with the 3 that topped off, the 28, the 43, and the 18. So I would expect race leaders to make pit stops here within the next 4 to 5 laps.
It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. They were single file, but Grant Wesley and Corey Deal, they moved up to the outside lane, and outside lane starting to form up again here. And that is Jeffrey Elliott there in the 056 leading that outside lane there with JR Deal right behind him, and Wesley right in between those guys. And you got to think Bob Seminara is another one of these huge factors in this championship right now. And the way things are currently running, I believe he would make his way inside that championship 4 on points. But you got Grant Wesley, Tim Knopfsker, Mark Paglia, who are all still in this thing, and even Richard Martin as well, all vying for those positions. And it's going to be extremely close once this whole thing cycles through. That outside lane getting a lot of momentum now. Jeffrey Elliott on the outside lane in the 056. He's alongside Joe DeSpirito. He might get alongside Seminara here for the 3rd position. And they got a lot of guys on that outside lane in the back of the field looking to get around Jessica Shelton and Johnny Garrett possibly for this race lead. It's the first time we've really seen this outside lane form up like this in the past few laps. We'll have to see if they can get around the 94 Jessica Shelton.
Yeah, that 056 of Jeffrey Elliott is somebody to watch here. He's been doing really well to get up into this position, up on the top line in the middle. Right now leading that second group up top. He really does have a shot here. He's got both of the Deal brothers right behind him, and they're trying to get the line forming so he can get a run to go compete for the lead and compete with Jessica Shelton.
Well, they did just lose a little bit of ground. Grant Wesley went down to the inside, and so did the 088 of Tim Knopfsker, and a lot more guys are now on the inside lane, so that outside lane is going to suffer just a little bit, but they are hanging with that that inside lane, and Jeffrey Elliott pulling alongside Bob Seminara right now for the 3rd position. I just don't think they're going to be able to get to the race lead before the cycle begins. Next time by, it'll be 10 laps to go here in race 14 of the Talladega Challenge. And we know that Joe DeSpirito's in the championship for, but who will be the other three drivers? Seminara and Wesley looking very strong at the moment, but Paglia, Martin, and Tim Knopfsker all trying to go for that last position. It's going to be really close to see who gets it done. Josh Metallic failed to start here tonight, so he will not make it on the championship four. And Terry Bombard was involved in the wreck earlier on, and he will also fail to advance on to the championship four. But Jeffrey Elliott looking to advance to the race lead. He's now alongside Danny Garrett for second. These outside lane drivers working very well right now. And Jeffrey Elliott might have a nose on Jessica Shelton right now. These guys have done a fantastic job in this outside lane, getting some of the work up top.
Nice push there from J.R. Deal in the 09 car to help Jeffrey get up level with Jessica Shelton. They are there. They're right there. And from what I've been told, we should expect some race leaders to begin to make their final pit stops here now that we are at 10 laps to go and under 10 laps to go down the back straightaway.
And Jeffrey Elliott, the 056, is going to go to the race lead. J.R. Deal as well. Corey Deal working an outside lane. Jeffrey Elliott can clear Jessica Shelton if he wants to, but he's going to stick with the outside lane. The guys who helped him get there. And Jeffrey Elliott to the point, coming to 9 laps to go. He'll clear to the inside of Jessica Shelton for the race lead. We'll have to see if that opens the door for J.R. Deal on the outside. But 9 laps to go for Jeffrey Elliott here at Talladega. And very soon, these guys are going to be having to come down the pit lane for fuel because they cannot make it to the end of the race. They last came down with 26 laps to go with a 19 to 20 lap fuel run here at Talladega. There's no way they're going to be able to make it. And it's closing in on that time to come down the pit for fuel.
Right now, Jeffrey is trying to pick the lane that will fit him the best. You know, he's trying to stay in the race lead and play both lanes. And at this point, he's on the bottom of the racetrack now. Some drivers, again, look for them to start making moves to the bottom if the pit stop is coming soon. And keep in mind that David Lawson, Mark Paglia, and Richard Martin, the longer we go here in this run before they make their pit stop, the greater that advantage of the half a can fuel could really come into play. So
it's going to be tight for these guys. Mark Paglia currently in a battle with Bob Seminara for the highest chase driver in the field. And that's very good for Mark Paglia because he did come in above the cutoff. So Paglia currently inside that top 4 the way they currently run. Seminara, I believe, also holds it as well. Richard Martin is a guy who is currently on the outside looking in, and I think maybe Grant Wesley and Tim Knopfsker might also be close to that bubble as well. We know Knopfsker came in outside of the cutoff. He is currently well below a lot of the drivers in this field as the outside lane is really getting a run once again. J.R. Deal to the point here at Talladega. He led the last lap, and Corey Deal right behind him. The Deal brothers are going to be helping each other out. I do not see J.R. Deal cutting down to the inside ahead of Jeffrey Elliott here.
Contact
but
entering
if Corey Deal can move to the inside, they might clear that inside lane.
A few drivers have pitted, and it appears that the number 6 car of Wiley Cote has gotten into Chuck McClure. No major incident, but Chuck McClure in the 17 and the 00 of Wayne Pribino ended up in the infield grass. It looks like the race leaders are beginning to pit. Bob Seminara will be coming into the pit road this time, as well as the 24 Joe DeSpirito and our Jessica Shelton and the number 94 will be pitting this time by. So expect a lot of race leaders to make this final pit stop. I'm hearing that some of the race leaders may also try the half the can strategy too.
We'll have to see how it all goes down. The Deal brothers will stay out. So will Mark Paglia. Knopfsker came down the lap before. Rest of the drivers are down. You see Grant Wesley, Joe DeSpirito, Bob Seminara, all down the pit lane along with Richard Martin. So a lot of the chase drivers coming down right here. Paglia still out there. Now remember, Paglia was one of those drivers who did top off under the last caution, so he can go a little bit longer. Just going to have to see how it all shakes out. Where these guys come out in relation to Tim Knopfsker in the 088. Here's Donnie Garrett in the 77. And it looks like Garrett's going to win the race off of those guys. And Jessica Shelton might lose a little bit of ground in the 24. Should I say the 94. He's lost a lot of ground right there. Wiley Cote in the 6 and the 08 of Tim Knopfsker have fallen off. They are going to be well behind these guys. And odds are for Tim Knopfsker, that will end his chances of making it on the championship 4. We'll have to see where he cycles out once the whole thing is complete. Mark Paglia, the last chase driver to come down the pit lane. And we'll just have to see if he can merge on with the lead draft here. But Donnie Garrett won the race off the pit lane of that second group. And once this whole thing cycles through, I think Bob Dixon has yet to come down. It will be Donnie Garrett, Hank Middleton, Grant Wesley, three guys who will be up front in this lead pack. We'll have to see where these guys come in relation, though the Deal brothers are a little bit long on the pit lane right there. And I believe Mark Paglia was as well. But here comes Donnie Garrett, Hank Middleton, Grant Wesley. Oh,
nice.
JR Deal got spun off the pit lane. He is below the racing surface. No yellow will come out. Paglia will lose positions to Donnie Garrett, Bob Seminara, Grant Wesley, and Hank Middleton. However, Jeffrey Elliott in the 056 with David Lawson and Dave Melson are the top three. Glenn Harris is fourth off the pit lane, but he is going to be sworn by Garrett, Middleton, and Wesley. Bob Seminara coming as well. I believe Seminara is also going to stay with these guys in the draft. And here comes Garrett with a huge head of steam on the back of Dave Melson, David Lawson, and the number 056 of Jeffrey Elliott. Melson had yet to make his pit stop. He is down the pit lane and to the point with now it's going to be 4 laps to go here at Talladega, and Donnie Garrett is your race leader here in the 14th race of the season. Grant Wesley here. Bob Seminara also getting a good run there in the 712 as well. And Richard Martin inside the top 10. Mark Paglia lost a ton of ground. Trying to see where he is on the racetrack. And he did not get a good run off the pit lane. He actually had to come back down. He may have gotten a penalty, and that's going to end Paglia's chances of making it onto the championship 4.
Yeah, all I was going to say is the 056 of Elliott really was left out there on the bottom. It was unfortunate for him not to have any good drafting help.
So the way things are currently running, Joe DeSpirito, Grant Wesley, I think Richard Martin, he did a great job there off the cycle. And I think the other guy might be Bob Seminara. I think it might be those 4 guys making it on. Tim Knopsker is just too far behind at this point, and at this point, even a caution won't help him because we're at the point of no return here at Talladega. So it looks like we have our championship 4 set with DeSpirito, Wesley, Martin, and Seminara. However, if any of those guys get caught up in an accident, minus DeSpirito, things could get a little interesting in the points. But we're coming to 2 laps to go. We'll focus on the race lead until the finish of this race. Donnie Garrett, Hank Middleton, Grant Wesley, David Lawson, Bob Seminara, Glenn Harris, and Jeffrey Elliott, the top 7. They're all chasing Donnie Garrett for this race lead. It's 2 laps to go here at Talladega.
This is a really interesting situation. Have single file for the top 7 or 8 cars here, 6 cars in a line. You know, I considering that these guys might already be locked in, I don't know if they'll be more content to just stay in position. As you see Grant Wesley move to the bottom.
Grant Wesley's not content. He's going to move to the inside of Hank Middleton. He's got David Lawson helping him right there. Bob Seminara as well. And Wesley's just going to go right to the point. Garrett's going to try to stay on the outside lane. This is going to be interesting right here, but Grant Wesley going to take the race it away as we're coming to the white flag here at Talladega in the Talladega Challenge, the penultimate race of the season. And Grant Wesley looking for his one-way ticket to the championship 4. White flag in the air here. 1 lap to go here at Talladega. Bob Seminara here in 3rd. David Lawson right behind. Grant Wesley in the 088. And Donnie Garrett's going to get sent to the outside wall. And in the inside wall hard goes the 77. We are on the white flag lap. We're racing back to the line regardless.
Oh, boy. And he got hit by the
And more drivers getting caught up. Tim Knopsker in the 088. A hard impact for him. The caution has flown. Richard Martin is still out there in the 43. Bob Seminara looking to the inside. And Seminara's to the inside of David Lawson. And Seminara's got to run to the inside of Wesley, but it won't be enough. Grant Wesley's going to win the penultimate race of the season. It'll be Wesley, Seminara, DeSpirito, and Richard Martin. Going to cross the line in the 7th position. Those will be your 4 drivers in the championship 4 here in the Talladega Challenge for RTG. Grant Wesley gets it done once again. If I'm not mistaken, this is his 4th win of the season. and he will be fighting for a championship next week right here on the Flatout Racing Network for the finale in the RTG Talladega Challenge. What a finish to that one.
Very good move by Grant Wesley there in the 88 Gatorade Chevrolet down to the bottom of the racetrack. Um, he had a very good push there from David Lawson, and he was able to get down to the bottom of the racetrack, and David went with him, and that helped Grant get to the front right when he needed to. On the other hand, a very tough break for the 77 of Donnie Garrett there. Unfortunately, not able to be in a position that he wanted to be in, and he had a good shot to win the race still, and it's just really a shame to see him crash out on the last lap.
Unfortunately, it is. He had a very strong car here and had a very good chance of winning. I will say he was very, very generous to Grant Wesley when Wesley had the run there. And I think he knew with Wesley being in the championship, he didn't want to fight him too hard. So I give him a lot of props for that. Still tough to see him get wrecked there on that final lap. But Grant Wesley, your race winner here in race 14 of the Talladega Challenge. And he'll be one of the 4 drivers advancing onto the championship 4, along with Joe DeSpirito. And I believe the 2 drivers making it in on points will be Richard Martin and Bob Seminara. Paglia and Nopsker fell back in this one. Obviously, Josh Metallic failed to start, and Terry Bombard was involved in the accident early on. But we'll go back through and watch that last lap again. Definitely a wild last lap there, even though we didn't have a side-by-side battle to the finish this time. A lot of things going on in the lead pack here on the final lap, and Donnie Garrett in the number 77, unfortunately, being sent around. We'll see right here that Glenn Harris. Glenn Harris kind of came up on him there off the corner.
Yeah, that 08 car, of Harris was right there next to him, and people were trying to decide what line to be in, and we tell drivers all the time, you just got to pick a lane and stay in it. And in his case, the 08 car came up into the 77 and unfortunately sent Donnie Garrett for a ride.
And Richard Martin was this close to being involved with Donnie Garrett right there. And if he was caught up, he would not be in this championship 4. It just was extremely tight. We'll replay that again for you guys. Look how close this was.
Wow.
You see Richard Martin coming through right here, and that's 77. Look at that. Wow, that was close. And even John Godfrey right behind Richard Martin. Godfrey did hit the outside wall. He tapped it just a little bit right there, but my goodness, that was a close one right there. A tough, tough break for Tim Nopsker. Jessica Shelton also got shot to the inside wall as well. But at the finish line, it was Grant Wesley in the 88 machine. Seminara went for it. I don't know if Seminara was aware of the point situation because he's going to get around Metallic. He'll get around Paglia, and he'll get around Nopsker, and that's enough for him to make it on to the championship 4. He tried there, but didn't have enough help on the inside. Still got a podium finish, and hopefully I'm right about the 4 guys who are in the championship 4, but I'm pretty sure that that's how it rolls because Paglia fell deep in the field, and so did Tim Nopsker in the 088. So pretty sure Seminara is going to be one of those guys who will be part of that championship 4, and we will be interviewing him here. So hopefully I do have it right and
yes,
tell him the correct information.
Unofficial, but my monitor right now is showing that the 4 that will advance will be the number 88 of Grant Wesley, the number 24 of Joe DeSpirito, the number 43 of Richard Martin, 3rd seed, and the 4th seed is the number 712 of Bob Seminara with that 3rd place finish.
I finally got my math right tonight. I'm glad I did.
All right.
So those will, and unofficially at this moment, will be your championship for Joe DeSpirito, Grant Wesley, Richard Martin, and Bob Seminara. Of course, Seminara. I think the biggest props go to the driver of the number 43, Richard Martin, who was involved in that big accident that we had earlier on. And that could have easily knocked him out, but he hung in there and rebounded to a 7th place finish, and that is going to put him inside this championship 4. You mentioned as a 3rd seed, too. Of course, he was ahead of Seminara coming into this race.
Right.
So that would make a lot of sense, but still great job out of Seminara and Martin in this race. And obviously Grant Wesley pulling off the race victory. He may be the biggest threat to win this championship. A really tough day there for Tim Nopsker. Really hate to see that from Nopsker. Still finished 11th in this race, which is a lot better than I thought, but he came in with a major points deficit. Terry Bombard, obviously, we saw him get involved in the accident. It was a shame to see that. And Josh Metallic was on vacation, so he had a nice reason to miss out on a chase. He wasn't involved in the wreck. He was having a good time, but unfortunately, he will also fail to make it on the championship four. But before we get anyone in, who do you think is going to get this championship next weekend between Despirito, Wesley, Martin, and Seminara? We've seen all four of those guys get race victories this season. Who do you think is going to be our championship this year, or our champion this year, I should say?
Well, I would have to say that Grant Wesley has a really good shot this season, considering that he had developed a large point lead prior to the end of the regular season. And if he races as well as he raced tonight and gets another race win very easily, I really do like the chances for Grant Wesley moving forward here into the final race of the season.
We'll just have to see what he can do. Obviously, a four-time winner this season. He's won a lot of races. But we'll have to see. It's going to be interesting to see how it all goes down next Thursday night for the finale here in the RTG Talladega Challenge. Grant Wesley, your race winner. David Lawson, Bob Seminara, Hank Middleton, and Glenn Harris, the top five. Corey Deal, Richard Martin, John Godfrey, Wiley Cody, and Jessica Shelton, the top 10. Then Tim Knopfsker, J.R. Deal, Joe DeSpirito, Cy Jones, Donnie Garrett, Chuck McClure, Dave Melson, Bob Dixon, Mark Paglia, Jeffrey Elliott, Wayne Pribnow, Brian Lovell, Jeff Crivello, Bernie Mobbs, Terry Bombard, Perry Bond, Andre Mongian, Dave Little, Chris Elliott, and Jack Dussault, the top 30, the full 30 car field in their running order. We'll get Bob Seminara, David Lawson, Grant Wesley in here in a moment. Final thoughts on the race, Dante. A very interesting and wacky race, especially for the penultimate race of the season. But
Yeah.
do you think that's going to be any telling sign of how it's going to be next week?
Well, Alex, it was really exciting to see a green flag pit stop after a race that had multiple caution flags and one large incident. And, coming off of a very clean race last week, to have a race of this intensity was very much expected, especially whenever you have a cut line in the chase where only four drivers advance, you really do expect drivers to get desperate. And we saw exactly that tonight. The outside line really did not have the same role tonight as it did in previous races, and I think it has to do with the number of crash cars and the fact that we just didn't have the numbers. But it was really good to see Grant Wesley get that victory. That's the type of momentum and energy that he needs to be able to carry it on into the season.
Definitely. And obviously, like we
All right.
mentioned, Grant Wesley, a four-time winner this season. Definitely expect him to be a threat next weekend. But, he's going up against Despirito, Richard Martin, and Bob Seminara, all guys who have won this season. It's going to be interesting to see how that all goes down. But Bob Seminara, you've had a great run in this race, and you're going to be in that championship four next weekend, finishing third here. But you're up and down, but you had one of the cleaner races of the chase drivers. How was that race for you in the 712 machine?
Wow, that was crazy for me. I mean, I got caught up in some stuff and went to the back. I probably passed more cars than anybody. But I knew what I had to do, the guys I had to beat, and it just got a couple of good runs there, got back up to the front. It was wild.
It definitely was. It was definitely a wacky race from our perspective, but you pretty much avoided all of it and got a podium finish here at Talladega. And like I mentioned, you're going to be battling for a championship next weekend. What is your mindset going into the race, knowing that all you have to do to win the championship is beat Grant Wesley, beat Joe DeSpirito, and beat Richard Martin?
Yeah, that's easier said than done. But, I won last year. I know what that finale's like. And, it's every man for himself. And I'll be ready for it.
Well, we'll definitely be looking forward to watching you and those other three drivers battle for a championship next weekend right here on the Flatout Racing Network. But either way, congratulations on your solid run. Congratulations on making it into the championship four, and good luck next weekend battling for a championship here in the Talladega Challenge.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, guys. I'd like to thank you to Flatout Racing and, of course, RTG, Sean and Terry and David, and all the great admins. I love the racing here. FTMF, shout out to my bro, Ted and Beth up in Charlotte. They watched it tonight, and all the D's up in here that watched, all my buddies, and thank the Florida boys. And we'll see you next week.
We definitely will. Looking forward to see what you bring to the table next weekend here at Talladega. David Lawson, number 18, finishing in the second position. And you were one of those guys who topped off under that last caution. And we were talking about how you could possibly pull a little strategy and get yourself up to the front. Well, you did that. Just one spot short of the race victory there behind Grant Wesley. But either way, a great night for you here at Talladega.
Yeah, it was considering the damage that I had from that last huge wreck that we happened on the front stretch there, I think it was, and I really didn't expect to be able to get up there, but I just kind of played the momentum lane changing game, and a little pit strategy helped out there, but I got lucky. It's two second place finishes in 3 weeks. I'll take it.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely a great run for you there in number 18. And it's interesting. I think from your perspective as a guy who's not racing for the championship, obviously you don't want to be a guy who gets into one of those chase drivers. But we saw a lot of guys in this race who were non-chasers cause accidents, and unfortunately, a lot of those other chase drivers got involved. But you played a pretty clean race rather than number 18, and you were battling right with those chase drivers. Did you think at any point you could have a shot at winning this race here tonight?
Yeah, I did. Unfortunately, I thought Bob was gonna kind of push me up to Grant and behind there, coming down the turn three, the backstretch into turn 3 and 4, and I was like, okay, we can do this, we can do this. And then he got behind me, and then he ducked low, and I'm like, crap, he hung me out to dry. But I think Glenn Harris came up behind me and kind of kept me up there in front of him, so I ended up that second place finish again, and I finished second to Bob the last time he won. So it kind of worked out well. I'm okay with it.
Well, Zell, another great run for you here, and one more shot to possibly go to victory lane next weekend in the finale race of the RTT Talladega Challenge. But either way, thank you so much. Had a great run, and looking forward to seeing you next weekend in the finale race here in the Talladega Challenge. But either way, thank you so much. Did a great race, and good luck on the finale next weekend here at Talladega.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I want to go out with a bang because after next week, you're going to hear it here third probably. But I'm retiring from the racing game here. But I'm hoping I can go out on a win. That's my goal.
Well, we'll definitely miss you. We'll definitely looking forward to see how it all goes down next weekend at Talladega. Good luck on the future, man.
Thanks, man.
We'll bring in Grant Wesley here, race winner from Talladega, fourth win of the season. I'm sure you're feeling pretty confident about next weekend and the finale race. Going to be one of those four drivers going for a championship, but obviously you had the strongest car and you got there to the front, made the move on Donnie Garrett and took the race win away. I'm pretty sure you're feeling pretty confident about next weekend.
Oh man, it's so awesome to have that momentum going into the final race. Definitely one step closer here. But yeah, the first person I gotta thank is David Lawson. Man, I appreciate that push. I mean, if it wasn't for him, I probably would have ended up fourth or fifth. I've been known to work with him, and definitely appreciated that. But yeah, so going into this race, I kind of threw caution to the wind because I was racing Bernie Mobs for the bracket championship. He's got a double elimination, and I got to beat him twice. And so I had that going on, and I was trying to make the final race. So I took a few chances that I probably shouldn't have. And there early in the race, I put myself in the middle, which coming from the back, I found the bottom lane seems to be a little bit safer anyway. And I was in the middle, and next thing I know, I see Chris Elliott upside down. I guess the aliens got him or something.
Yeah, that one threw us off there. Just all of a sudden he's upside down, and then we had that big wreck. But either way, the guys you're battling with next weekend, Joe DeSpirito, Richard Martin, Bob Seminara, it's going to be a really intense race between all four of you guys. You've all won races this season. How do you think you're going to manage next weekend's race going for this championship?
Next weekend's gonna be interesting. Because I know, congratulations to Joe DeSpirito and Richard Martin and Bob Seminara for being in that championship race with me. But it's gonna be interesting because I know Joe and Bob, they typically kind of work together, and me and Richard Martin, we work together pretty good also. So I don't know. You might see a couple of tandems moving up to the front maybe, and who knows what's going to happen there at the end.
Well, either way, we're really looking forward to next weekend in the finale race for the RTT Talladega Challenge. You'll be alongside Joe DeSpirito, Richard Martin, Bob Sonera going for a championship, and good luck. You've obviously shown us that you can do it. 4 wins on the year. Have to see if you get number 5 next weekend in the Talladega Challenge. But either way, good luck on next weekend, and congratulations on your 4th win of the season here in the RTG Talladega Challenge.
Oh, thank you guys. Yeah, I'd like to thank the owners, Terry Bauman, David Cannon, Sean Prime. I'd like to thank the admins. It's a shame Josh Metallic couldn't have been here for tonight. He does a really good run in this league. But yeah, I'd like to thank all the admins that put this on, and you guys for putting on an awesome broadcast.
Well, thank you very much. And like I mentioned, good luck next week battling for a championship here in the RTT Talladega Challenge.
Thank you.
And that was Grant Wesley, race winner here at Talladega. A very interesting race here tonight. One of the wacky races we've seen this year. Obviously, Chris Elliott popping out of nowhere upside down was definitely a moment to behold. But outside of that, we're definitely looking forward to next weekend in the finale race here in RTG Talladega Challenge.
Yeah, Alex, that was a lot of fun tonight. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to come on in and provide some of my insight. It's been a lot of fun, and I hope to be able to do this again sometime soon.
So I'm not sure. You probably are racing next weekend. Hopefully we can find a co-commentator next weekend. So Dante could be out there battling for a race win himself. But either way, it was a pleasure to be alongside you for this race. Definitely great to have someone who races in this series on a regular basis, giving a lot of great insight, and definitely had a blast calling this one. Another huge thanks to Matt Rod and Seth Cole and all the guys at Flatout Racing Network for letting me call these races for the RTD Talladega Challenge. And hopefully you'll hear me next weekend for the finale here in the Talladega Challenge. Grant Wesley, Joe DeSpirito, Richard Martin, and Bob Seminara, those four guys going for a championship. Either way, thank you guys so much for watching. Congratulations to Grant Wesley, your race winner here in the 14th race of the season. And next weekend, next Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, it is the finale in the RTG Talladega Challenge right here on the Flatout Racing Network. On behalf of Dante Risi, I'm Alexander Graham. We have enjoyed the broadcast here tonight, and we hope you stick around and enjoy next week's finale race. Grant Wesley, your race winner here from Talladega. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys later.